Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this video lesson about prehistory. I am Miss Jennifer Blank, and I will be your guide on this journey. Now, when you're starting a video, when you're starting a lesson or a unit, one of the most important things to do is to try to organize your thoughts, try to help yourself figure out what's important. And one of the ways that we do that is through key questions. These key questions help focus our thinking and help us really zone in on what are the most important parts of the lesson that we need to pull from it. So let's get to those. So we have three for this particular lesson. We're going to start with what were the key eras of prehistory. Now, as you go through this course, you'll notice that historians divide everything into blocks of time. And sometimes these are a bit, they can seem random to non-experts, but it helps us. The reason why we make these breaks in time is to help us as people understand what we're studying. It helps us break things down into manageable chunks. And you'll find that as a history student, that strategy will help you a great deal in your study of history. So we're going to talk about the key eras of prehistory. Next, we're going to move on to the agricultural revolution. We're going to talk about what it was and why it was so important. And it definitely was very, very important. And then the final focus question we're going to look at are the major civilizations that began after the agricultural revolution. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on those. I just want to introduce them because those are the civilizations we'll be talking about in the video lessons that immediately follow this one. So without further ado, let's get to it. So you'll see here that there's a whole lot of text. There's just all kinds of text, lots of words on there. And that can seem a bit, that's a lot. Like, blank, why are you putting all that text up there? How am I supposed to break that down? Well, one of the things I'm going to teach you during the course of our time together is concept maps and some other note-taking strategies that will help you break things down. Now, on the next slide, and I'm going to show you that in a second, have broken this down into what I call a concept map, or sometimes it's called a mind map or a word web, and that will help you kind of visually organize all of this content and make it a little bit more manageable. What you see here is a concept map of what was on the previous slide. So on the top, you see a basic description of what these eras are all about. So what historians have done, and archaeologists and anthropologists, to help ourselves understand the progress of humanity, is to break the early human experience down into really three different eras. We have the Paleolithic, the Mesolithic, and the Neolithic. The Neolithic is what we're going to focus the most on. That's the one you want to pay the most attention to. But let me just introduce the other two. So Paleolithic, it simply means old. And that era happened between around 12 to 70,000 years ago. Because prehistory, or during the eras of prehistory, there's no written language, it's kind of tough to fully date it with any amount of exactness. How long the era went, when it precisely started, when it precisely ended. But so we have a rough idea, so that's why you see such a big range. Now during the Paleolithic time period, we developed fire. We have tools that are made of bone and wood and also of stone, and we started making art. It was a very exciting point for humanity. We started creating, which sets us apart from basically every other species on the planet. So that's a very, very important time. The next one is the Mesolithic. That means middle. We don't need to worry too much about that. That's not going to really be the focus of our course. If you go into this particular area of history as an adult, then hey, more power to you. You can go break that down. But for our purposes, we need to worry about it too much. And then below here, you see Neolithic. Now that took place between 8000 BCE and 3500 BCE. So you might be a little confused as to what is this BCE. Well, BCE actually stands for, I'm just going to draw a little circle here, before Common Era. Okay, so BCE. Now, you want to think of, this is a good time to introduce the idea of BCE versus ACE. You want to think of time on like a number line. So I'm just going to skip over here and kind of draw a little doodle over here, right? We have our little arrows. Think of this as 0. Everything before 0 is BCE. Whoops. I'm a little dyslexic on you guys, sorry. BCE. Everything after 0 is ACE, after Common Era. Okay? So with BCE, the numbers go backwards. So 8000 BC would be here. and then 3,500 might be over there, right? So it goes backwards because we're moving towards 0. So you can think of these as kind of like negative numbers if you're comparing them to a number line. So what I like about concept maps is that it helps us really organize our thoughts. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to move, as I move forward through this PowerPoint, I have a couple other examples of how you can take information on the slide and put it into a concept map. But after a certain point, I'm going to take the training wheels off, and I'm just going to give you the straight text. And it's going to be your job, as you're taking notes, to take the outline format and put that into a concept map format, and I will be checking for that in class.